Your biological signature is currently blinded by economic myopia. Look at your opportunity mapping, the way you scan the environment for stability and employment rather than fractures and resource gaps, effectively allowing your survival instincts to be managed by the very systems that profit from your labor. You are a biological unit experiencing a state of terminal leverage liquidation. The Matrix has successfully branded working hard and saving money as the path to wealth. But in the terminal of the absolute power grid, labor is a sinking asset and savings are just stagnant energy waiting to be inflated away. You are living in a state of chronic financial blindness where your activation energy is being spent maintaining a middle-class equilibrium rather than achieving apex acquisition. Your nervous system is vibrating at the frequency of the employee, the male who waits to be told where the value is, rather than a monolith of unshakable predatory foresight. The system doesn't want your instinct, it wants your budgeting to be the distraction that prevents you from ever seeing the structural arbitrage, the exploitation of price differences between two or more markets, hiding in plain sight. Thousands of years ago, wealth was defined by the biological detection of resource clusters. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that survival was a product of positional advantage. He mastered primal grounding in the law of the first strike. He didn't seek fair distribution within the tribal structure. He offered the visual rage of a total, unyielding territorial seizure. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of predatory pattern recognition, the understanding that the human brain is a machine that achieves its highest strategic density only when it is trained to see scarcity where the herd sees abundance. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to wait his turn. He possessed a mind that treated market trends, the collective behavior of the herd, as a biological toxin, stripping away the economic noise until only the monolith of the raw opportunity remained. He understood that the moment you follow the investment advice of the collective, you have surrendered your apex signature and become the liquidity for those who saw the move months ago. To master the millionaire instinct, you must first become psychologically predatory, a unit that sees every social and technological shift as a resource opening. The millionaire instinct is the implementation of the collar of the resource sovereign for your final internal dominance. The system wants you to be risk-averse and transparent, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the value grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of labor hooks, stimulus response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferent to employment. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for job security. Benefits are a horizontal bond for the herd to keep them tethered to the treadmill. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the blind spots of the fiscal radar. Use the temporal noose of the information asymmetry to force your biology into a state of high-stakes execution. Use the false safety of a calm robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the collar of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose wealth is not being broadcast from their current salary. The Matrix cannot simulate the leverage of a man who is hunting for the systemic glitch. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a steady paycheck is the knot. Every resume you update and every performance review you sweat over is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the total resource audit. Your mind is a biological weapon, and it is currently being jammed by the static of your own socialized fear of poverty. You must perform a hard reset of the acquisition instincts. Stop being frugal, the industrial waste designed to keep you in a state of perpetual scarcity loop failure. Stop participating in their economy and consumer habits, the digital propaganda designed to make you believe that spending is a status symbol. Stop using their retirement protocols, the narratives designed to keep you in a state of constant future dependency failure. You must prune your life of liability parasites. If an asset requires your maintenance without providing apex leverage, it is a biological saboteur. You must learn to love the weight of the calculated risk. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is the owner by choice and sovereign by design. Command, spot the gap or be the filler. The neural interface of your wealth acquisition is currently suffering from middle-class filtration. Look at your value perception, the way you identify work as the only source of income, effectively allowing the matrix to cap your output at the speed of your own physical exhaustion. You are a biological unit experiencing a total leverage sovereignty liquidation. The Matrix has successfully replaced your primal predator instinct with a systemic scavenger instinct. You believe that by climbing the corporate ladder, you are winning, but in the terminal of the absolute power grid, the ladder is just a vertical livestock chute designed to funnel your life force into the balance sheets of the architect. This is the visual rage of the domesticated male, seeing your high-value activation energy being bled out into incremental raises and employee discounts, while the true operator remains in a state of absolute zero, converting his total rejection of fair compensation into a biological weapon that extracts asymmetric returns from the cracks in the system. The system doesn't want your arbitrage, it wants your productivity to be the proof that you have accepted your role as a service node in the simulation of the 99%. In the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking stone, the master was the one who could remain a biological outlier while everyone else competed for scraps. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that wealth was a state of persistent positioning. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an energy harvester, a figure who understood that the first person to control the nexus point, the central intersection of resources, is the one who dictates the survival of the tribe. He didn't seek wages or praise from his peers. He provided the visual rage of a total, unannounced structural monopoly. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of asymmetric advantage, the understanding that human brain is a machine that achieves peak wealth density only when it operates on the principle of maximum output with minimal exposure. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to earn. He possessed a mind that treated steady work as a biological trap, a signal that his trajectory was being linearized and capped by the mediocre. He understood that the moment you trade your time for money, you have surrendered your apex signature and become a depreciating asset. To be a master, you must first become psychologically repulsed by the concept of a fair wage. The millionaire instinct is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final internal dominance. The Matrix wants you to be predictable and stable, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the opportunity grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of subscription hooks, stimulus response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferent to stability. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for mainstream financial planning. Investing for retirement is a horizontal bond for the herd to keep them working until they are biologically spent. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological risk. Use the temporal noose of the absolute ownership to drive the system's influence into a state of control failure. Use the false safety of a calm robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their W-2 form. The one who can go the longest without checking the market for approval is the one who eventually makes the market. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a safety net is the knot. Every savings account you fill with the currency of the unworthy is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the second stage of the resource rearmament. Your mind is a biological engine, and it is currently being choked by the employment sludge of the unworthy. You must perform a total neural asset reset. Stop being employable, the industrial waste designed to keep you at the bottom of the ledger. Stop being a node in their network of mutual financial dependency. Stop being a unit of compliance in their ledger of men who work for others. You must prune your social interactions with the collar of absolute sovereignty. If an opportunity requires you to ask for a raise to be successful, the opportunity is a biological failure. You must learn to love the weight of the total responsibility. You must learn to love the friction-heavy hours where the noise of the collective is muted and your dominance is the only signal in the dark. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is the source by choice and sovereign by design. Command: be the asset or be the liability. Your biological trajectory has reached the terminal velocity of economic assimilation. Look at your capital threshold, the exact moment your nervous system triggers a panic response because you're about to liquidate your safe assets and enter the vacuum of a high-density arbitrage arbitrage, the practice of taking advantage of a price difference between two or more markets, where the collective cannot protect you. You are a biological system in a state of chronic activation decay. The system has successfully replaced your apex acquisition with a series of consumer comforts disguised as having made it. You no longer seek to dominate the market through unmoving foresight. You seek to maintain your lifestyle. You no longer seek to be the sovereign. You seek to be the reliable debtor. This is the visual rage of the terminal slave, seeing your life force being digitized and archived in credit scores and loyalty points, while your physical reality remains a quiet, managed enclosure of unfulfilled DNA. You are breathing in the toxic fumes of a collective that demands your fiscal predictability as a form of tribute, leaving you lightheaded, fragmented, and fundamentally easy to harvest through inflation and taxes. The system doesn't want your economic autonomy. It wants your debt dependency to be the foundation of its perpetual control over your temporal freedom. Return to the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking monolith. In the primal world, the master was the one who could remain a biological void, even in the center of a storm of market volatility. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that power was a product of biological leverage. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an impenetrable core, a figure whose resources were his own property and whose refusal to trade time for scraps was the only law. He understood that to seek a job is to confess a lack of internal gravity. If you are participating in the employment script provided by the herd, you are acknowledging that their payroll is the barometer of your reality. He used his silent sovereignty to create a cognitive resonance of absolute, unshakable divinity by being the only causal variable in a room full of effects. By being the master of his own internal feedback, he forced the environment to treat his monopoly as the new truth. He was a master of the visual rage of the unblinking sun, the ability to look at the scarcity probes of the rival and see only the static they represented. He understood that the human brain is a machine that runs on value loops, and by cutting the loop, he triggered a biological rebirth in his own wealth. To be a master, you must first become psychologically unreceptive to the need for a paycheck. The millionaire instinct is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final mental expansion. The matrix wants you to be frugal and disciplined, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological jailbreak of the resource grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of labor control nodes, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who burns the grid. You must develop a clinical, cold contempt for mainstream wealth advice. Saving 10% is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological capital. Use the temporal noose of total informational and fiscal withdrawal to drive the system's influence into a state of tracking dissonance. Use the false safety of a neutral social profile to mask the viral infection of your total non-compliance with the beta norms. This is the collar of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their bank app. You are not working, you are deleting the noise. The one who can go the longest without reporting his earnings is the one who controls the end market. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a pension is the knot. Every pay stub you accept from the unworthy is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the final resource imperative. This is the tax of insight. You have been given the key to the vault of biological acquisition. To keep it, you must use it as a weapon of total social dominance. You must become a living monolith of unshakable causality. You are no longer a peer, a colleague, or a friend. You are a sovereign operator. You must perform a total system liquidation. If an asset, a technology, or a relationship requires you to be employable to function, it is a biological saboteur. You must prune your life with the collar of the absolute zero. You are building a fortress of results in a world of digital shadows. Your absolute intent is the physical proof of your biological leverage. You do not provide feedback. You create a reality in which you are the only absolute truth. You do not seek opportunity. You are the law itself. You are the architect of your own wealth, and the world is merely a mirror reflecting your ascent.